Hello, and welcome to this demonstration where I'm going to show you how to take this isometric drawing and convert it into an orthographic projection. Okay, so the first thing we have to understand is the scale of the drawing. The scale that we're using is that 1 square equals 1 inch. So on this isometric grid, every one of these squares, we're going to count that as an inch. And just so everybody's aware, at the overall dimensions of this object, I'm going to number the squares on this drawing. So I'll start here in the lower left-hand corner, and I'm going to number this as number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's how long it is in the front. Also, I want to note how tall it is. Starting here again in the left-hand corner, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tall. And we also want to note how deep it is, and that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks deep. Okay, so I'm going to use this front corner here as a reference. Let's first of all make sure that we are aware that this here is always going to be the front view. So this surface area here is always going to be the front. And that's what I'm going to draw first, okay? So I'm going to take this corner and I'm going to reference that corner in an area somewhere in the middle of this front view square right here, okay? So if this dot represents this corner, I want to say that every one of these squares is equal to every one of these blocks. So if I just use a straight edge, like this triangle, I'm going to count the number of squares that this is long, and I'm going to count that over here in the front view. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to bring me to this point right here. So I will then use my triangle as a straight edge, and I will draw that line in. So this line here represents this line here, okay? Now that I'm back at this lower left corner, I want to go up 5 squares. So I'm going to count here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that puts me right here at this intersection, 5 squares tall. Use my straight edge. I like to place my point on the paper, bring my straight edge to my point, and line it up with my opposite point that I'm going to draw to, and then I can easily just draw my line in place, okay? So there's my first 2 lines. That is this line here and this line here. Once I get to the top, I can clearly see that this is 1, 2 squares over to the right. So I'm going to simply count 1, 2 squares over to the right. That puts me right here at that intersection. I can now take my straight edge and draw my line. That puts me at this corner here. I want to go down now 1, 2, 3 squares. So I'm going to simply go down 1, 2, 3 squares. That puts me here at this intersection right there. Straight edge, pencil, line. That puts me here. I am now going to travel to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. And then I can simply draw my line in place. This line here connects down to the bottom, which I'm going to do right here. So this is my front view. This is the front view of this object. Now it's very important that we use our projection lines to bring the front view up to the top view. And what is in the top view? This area here is going to be in the top view, and this area here is going to be in the top view, because the top view is always looking down on that surface area, okay? So let's start here. I'm going to bring this corner up to the top by simply projecting this edge all the way up to the top view. It's a lightly drawn line, not as dark as your object lines. I'm going to do the same thing for this edge here. I'm going to bring that up to the top. And I'm also going to do the same thing for this edge here. I'm going to bring this up to the top view. What those projection lines are going to show us is how wide the object is, okay? And it's also going to show us where this step down occurs right here, okay? So, as I go up to the top view, I'm going to make a point here, and I'm going to reference this point as this corner here. So I know that this is still going to be 6 squares long, and my projection lines show me where this line goes to. So that's why I'm going to leave that there like that. Now I know that this is 4 squares deep, so I'm going to start here and I'm going to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to complete this line right here. Okay. All right, so this back corner here, I'm going to come over 2 squares. Two squares. This line here comes down and closes in here. This line here will also go back 4 squares because it's still 4 squares deep. And this last line here will close it off. Okay, so that is my top view. That is what you see here and what you see here. Now my right side view, being located here, is going to see this surface area here and this surface area here. Okay, so by doing so, I need to project the front view over to the right side view. Again, I'm going to project the bottom over. I'm going to project this edge right here over, and I'm also going to project where the top is, and I'm going to project that over. Okay, now that shows me how tall it is here. It's still going to be 5 squares tall. So when I'm standing here looking at the right side view, I'm going to see this surface that is 2 squares by 4 squares, and I'm going to see a surface that is 3 squares by 4 squares on top of it. So here's my 2 squares by 4 squares. And this one on top of it that is 3 squares by 4 squares. So this is my right side view. So you can see that this surface area here is this one here. This surface area here is this one here. So without the projection lines, I would have never been able to line up my views correctly. If I had shifted this over, that would be incorrect. And if I had shifted this up or down, that would be incorrect. And it's also important to note that it is 4 squares wide here, and it is also 4 squares wide here. Okay? That's number 1, and I'll continue on the next video with number 2.